Hi, today we're going to talk about Earth's 4 eons. I'm Natasha Young. What is an eon? An eon is a half billion years or more. It is the largest interval units of geological time and includes smaller units of time called eras, periods, epochs, and ages, or stages. So let's talk about the Earth's eons. We have the Haitian Eon, the Archaean Eon, and the Protorozoic Eon, which happens to be the longest eon. Those 3 eons are known as the Precambrian era, before the Great Explosion of Life. The Phanerozoic Eon is our current eon. The Haitian Eon, or also known as unseen, is the oldest interval of time and the formation of Earth. It ranges from 4,600 million years ago to 3,900 million years ago. No rock records exist except in parts of Canada. This is when the sun, the moon, and the magnetic field of the Earth started to form. In the later part of the Haitian Eon, it was bombarded by meteoroids and asteroids. Archaean Eon, also known as the Ancient Eon, is when the oldest rock was deposited on Earth. It ranged from 3,900 million years ago to 2,500 million years ago. This is when sedimentary rocks formed in the oceans, and at the time they contained microscopic life forms in the form of bacterial characteristics, and they were the only living things on Earth for 1 billion years. Oceans and continents were forming due to plate tectonics. Iron formations were happening, and the ozone layer was starting to form. The Archaean Eon also had stromatolites forming in shallow waters, and this was the first evidence of fossils. The atmosphere was composed of methane, ammonia, hydrogen, and carbon monoxide prior to the Archaean Eon. The stromatolites released oxygen and made the air breathable. This was a hot, wet climate during this eon, and the oceans were warm with active volcanoes. The Protorozoic Eon, it was 2.5 billion to 541 million years ago, and is split into 3 eras. The Paleoproterozoic Era, which was 2.5 billion to 1.6 billion years ago. The Mesoproterozoic Era, which was 1,600 to 1,000 million years ago, and the Neoproterozoic Era, which was 1 billion to 541 million years ago, also known as Snowball Earth. Rocks in this period were made of metallic ores like iron, gold, copper, uranium, and nickel. And this was also the era of the eon of the first signs of primitive life. This was seen in fossil remains of bacteria and algae called trilobites. And we also noticed that multicellular life was forming. And any oxygen-dependent animals known as Ediacara fauna were forming on Earth as well. This was also when the formation and breakup of continents was occurring. We noticed island arcs, dikes, and plate tectonics during this time. Also, thick piles of sediments which lie on top of mountain belts were creating rock formations and mineral formations during this time. Last, we're going to talk about the Phanerozoic Eon. That was 541 million years ago to the present. This is when visible life was occurring due to plant life providing oxygen. And the eras that are contained in the Phanerozoic Eon are the Paleozoic, which ranges from 541 million to 252 million years ago. This was when continents were starting to drift apart. Vertebrate and invertebrate animals were forming. This is your fish, your tetrapods, and your reptiles. Life on land was forming, and the ice age was beginning to take place. Also during this time, the continents started to drift together. The Mesozoic Era, which ranged from 252 million years ago to 66 million years ago, was known as the Age of Reptiles. This is when Pangea broke apart and shallow oceans started to form. And the Cenozoic Era, which was 66 million to present years ago, is when the mammals started to evolve, land masses began to take shape, we started to experience seasonal weather, and the Himalayan uplift actually occurred during this era. So we noticed the Earth formation was starting to change in this eon. The continental drift was occurring, mountain building was happening, and continental glaciation was occurring during this time. Detailed fossil records were happening, so we were able to get better records of what life forms were. And we were beginning to build complex ecosystems during this eon. So in summary, eons comprise the history of Earth and the evolution of life. This you will notice through changes in climate, changes in geography, and the atmosphere, and just life in general. And before the Phanerozoic Eon, animals lacked hard body parts to provide a fossil record. And during the Phanerozoic Eon, it was divided into 3 eras and 11 periods that range from the Cambrian period to the Quaternary period and provided a more detailed fossil record. So let's talk about some questions that I have. How do you think the next eon will differ from our current eon? How do you think our climate and life forms will look during that eon? And what is the most significant difference between the eons in terms of life, climate, and geography? I hope that you found this very interesting in regards to eons. I wish you luck on your midterm. These are my references, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Have a great day.